Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. If this is your first time here, please click on the red button below to subscribe. In these tutorials, we'll be learning how to make this easy dress with waist drawstring, false pocket, turn up sleeve with side slit. So let's get into it. So I'll be using 3 yards of cotton fabric for this tutorial. So the fabric is on a fold. So I used the biggest part of the body, which is the hips. I added extra 15 inches because it's a cut together sleeve. So because of our neck style, I took 1 inch on the center front because the center is going to have an opening. So all my measurement will start from the 1 inch mark. The first measurement I'll take is the neck width, which is 3 inches, and the neck depth I'm also using 3 inches. So I'll use my armhole curve to connect it. Sorry, my table is small. It's a cut together sleeve. To get the shoulder slope, I'll be coming down by 1 inch from this point and I'll connect it to the neck width. Like I said earlier, I added extra 15 inches to my measurement to get the sleeve. Now the next thing I'll be doing is from this shoulder slope, I'm going to take the chest line. So I'll be using 8 inches for the chest line. And on this point, I'll use 9 inches. Then I'll take all the measurement from this point, that's on the main shoulder line. I'll be taking the shoulder to waist. So the shoulder to waist for this measurement is 17 inches. Then I'm going to take the shoulder to hip. The shoulder to hip is 26 inches. Then the shoulder to full length, the length of this dress is 60 inches. So I'm using everything I have here. I have about 60 inches long. So I'll be using everything here. So I'll go ahead and connect all the lines. So now I'll be taking the bust circumference. The bust is 38. Quarter of 38 will give me 9.5. I'll be adding 1 inch for ease and 1 inch for seam allowance. So what I have on the bust circumference, I'm going to place it on the waist because it's a free dress. It's going to have a drawstring. So I'm placing the exact measurement on the bust on the waistline. Then on the hip is 42. Quarter of 42 will give me 10.5. So I'm going to place it like so, then add 1 inch for ease and 1 inch for seam allowance. So I'm going to get my sleeve, I'm taking the measurement from the shoulder slope. I'll come down by 12 inches because I want the sleeve to be very free. So I came down by 12 inches. So I'm going to take a straight line like so. So I'm taking the line, that is the bust circumference measurement, to the waistline to just be like a guide on how to get my sleeve. So this is the sleeve length. So from this line, I'm going to come down by maybe 3 or 4 inches. So I'll just use 3 inches here. Then from this 3 inches point, I'm going to curve it to the waistline like so. So this is our sleeve. Then afterwards, I'm going to connect it to the hip line down to the full length. So what I have on the hip line, I'm going to place it on the full length. So I have around 13 inches. So I'm placing the 13 inches on the full length. Sorry, my table is small. So I'm just trying to manage it. So I'll connect the line straight to the full length. So afterwards, I'm going to cut through this line. So I'll be cutting through this line. I'll be cutting out the neckline, the shoulder. So I'll be using the front pattern to cut out the back. So this is the front pattern. I've folded another fabric into 2. I use the same measurement I used on the front pattern to fold this. So I'll be placing the front pattern like so, making sure this 1 inch is on the folded part. That means the front is 1 inch longer than the back. So for the back neckline, I came down by 1 inch. So I'll connect it to the neck width on the front like so. So I'll trim this out. So I'll trace exactly what I have here to cut out the back. So we are through with our patterns. So this is the back neckline and the front neckline. So I'll be cutting through this center front. Remember I left 1 inch earlier, so we're done. Now the next thing I'm going to do is to open it up good side to good side. So this is the back. I'm going to place the front on it like so. So I'll be sewing it on the shoulder by 1/2 inch on both shoulders. After doing that, then I'm going to join the side seam from the sleeve point here. I'll take it all the way down by 1 inch. So guys, I've done that. I've stitched the shoulder and the side seam from the sleeve all the way down, and I stopped at this point. So from the shoulder I took 35 inches, so I stopped at 35 inches here. So the dress is going to have a side slit opening, that is why I stopped at this point. So I also top stitch it to secure the stitch. I top stitched it here and on the other side. So now the next thing I'm going to do on the waist, we are going to attach a casing on the waist. So I'm going to get the round waist to cut out the casing. So the round waist is around 44 inches. So I've gone ahead to cut out a strip of fabric that I'll be using to do the casing. So I have around 2 inches here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to fold each side by half an inch so that I'll be left with 1 inch. So I'll fold it on both sides by half an inch and I'll give it a good press. So I've done that. As you can see, I've gone ahead to iron the 2 sides. So I'm left with 1 inch for the casing. But I'll keep this aside and I'll be placing it on later. So what I'm going to do now is to cut our false pocket. So I place another fabric on a fold. So I'm going to, the length of the pocket is going to be 4.5 inches. So I'll just mark the 4.5 inches like this. Then the width, I'm going to use 7 inches for the width of the pocket. So I'll go ahead and cut it out. So this is our pocket. I'll be cutting out 2. So this is it. So I'm going to sew here by half an inch. I'll repeat the same thing for the other pocket, then I'll show you when I'm done. So guys, I've done that. I've stitched this part by half an inch. Then I'll turn it to the good side. So I've also gone ahead to iron it, and we have this. So I'll be placing it on the dress. So on the center front, I've slashed the center front open. Remember, we left 1 inch earlier for this on the center front. So I've gone ahead to slash it open. So from the shoulder point here, I'm going to come down by 19 inches. That is 2 inches below the waistline. So I'm using 19 inches to fix our pocket. So I'm doing the same thing on the other side. So from the center front, I'm going to come in by 2 or 2.5 inches. So I'll place the 2 inches here. So I'm going to place I decided to use 2.5 inches. I decided to use 2.5 inches from the center front. So I'll place the pocket like so. So what I'm going to do, I'll fold it by half an inch in. Then I'll turn it to the other side like this. I'll make sure it's on the line I marked. Then I'm going to pin it up. So we'll have something, I'll sew it by half an inch and we'll have something like this. So I'll repeat the same thing on the other pocket. So I'll place it this way. Then I'm going to mark it. Sorry, I'm going to sew it by half an inch. I'll make sure it's on this marked line I made. So I'll sew it. I'll take it to the sewing machine and do that and come back and show you. So guys, I've done that. I've stitched it by half an inch. As you can see, our first pocket is fixed. Now the next thing I'll be doing is to attach the casing on the waistline. I've gone ahead to mark the waistline. So I marked a straight line all the way to the other end of the dress. So this is our casing. Remember we've folded this part half an inch on both sides and we've gone ahead to iron it. So I'll be placing it on the dress like this. So I'm going to mark 1.5 inch from the center front. 1 inch is for joining back the center front and ½ inch is where the casing is going to stop. So I've marked the 1.5 inches. Then on the casing, I'm going to fold it this way. I'll double fold it. Then I'm going to top stitch it. After I top stitch this point, then I'm going to place it the center. I'll place the center on the line here. So I'll place it this way, making sure the center of the casing is on the marked line. So I'm going to start sewing it from this point. I'll make a very tiny stitch all the way to the other end. I'll repeat the same thing on this other side. I'll make a tiny stitch all the way to the other end. So this is the other end. So I have excess. So what I'm going to do, I'll be cutting it out. I'll also mark the 1.5 inches I did earlier on the other side. I'll cut this excess out. Then after I cut it out, let's assume I've cut it out, I'm going to fold it again like this. Then I'm going to place it on this 1.5 inches mark. Then I'm going to top stitch it, then sew it on both sides. So guys, I've done that. So this is our casing. I've fixed it to the on the waistline. So this is the opening we have here. So I forgot to mention, I fixed the casing on the wrong side of the dress. So I did it all the way to the other side. So this is the stitch I made, as you can see. So this is the other end. I'm going to pass another strip of fabric here for our drawstring. So now the next thing I'm going to do is to create a hole where our strip is going to pass through on the good side. Remember, we fixed the casing on the wrong side. I'm going to create another hole here. So I decided to use an eyelet for this part. So this is the eyelet I'll be using. I've gone ahead to punch one part of the dress. So this is the other side. So I'll come in by 1.5 inches from the center front. Then I'll mark where I want that's on the center of the casing. I'm going to attach my grommet machine on it like this. Then I'll punch a hole like so. So this is the hole. So I'm going to attach the eyelet on it like so. I'm attaching it on the good side. So I'll place it this way. Then I'll turn it over and I'll fix it on the grommet machine. Or you can also call it an eyelet machine. Then I'm going to place the cover. It has a cover. The eyelet has a cover. I'll place it on it this way. Then I'm going to lock it. So if you don't have a grommet machine, you can just create a hole. You don't have to do this part. You just maybe create a hole and use a needle to stitch it. So this is what we have. So this is our hole. So the casing is going to pass through that part. So I'll repeat the same thing on the other side of the dress. So this is our eyelet. So now I'll be cutting another strip where the casing will pass through. So this is the strip. My waist is 31 inches. I made it around 90 inches. The length of the strip is around 90 inches. So what I'll do, what I did was I cut it by 1.5 inches. So I'm going to fold it like this. One side by half an inch. I'll fold the other side also by half an inch, and I'll be left with 1 inch after folding it. So the next thing I'll do is to double fold it like so. So I'll have, when I sew it, I'll be sewing it by 1/4 inch, and I'll have around ½ inch. So our strip will be ½ inch. That's the width. So I'll do that all the way to the end. So guys, I've done that. So I also top stitch the beginning. I top stitch it inside. So this is our strip. So I'll be passing it through this eyelet on the wrong side. But before I do that, I'll be joining the center front together. I'm going to, on the neckline, I'm going to come down by 8 or 9 inches. From the neckline, I'll come down by 8 inches. So I'll be stitching it all the way to the full length by 1 inch. From this point, I'll stitch it all the way to the full length. So I've done that. I've stitched it by 1 inch. So this is our neckline. So remember, our neckline is open. So this is where I stopped. That's the full length, and this is the style on the neckline. It's like a V shape. So what I did was I folded it more than 1 inch to give it like a V shape effect. So this is the part I folded. I just went in a little more than 1 inch, and I folded it in and I gave it a good press. So we have this. So this is like a V neck on our dress. Now I'll be attaching the strip on the casing. So I'll be using a safety pin to do that. So this is the safety pin. So I'm going to attach it on the strip. Then I'll tuck it in from the wrong side like so. So it will pass through the eyelet. Then I'm going to take it all the way into the other side of the waist. So this is it. We've done that. So this is our drawstring. So now that I've fixed the strip to the waistline, I'll be taking it to the weaving machine. I'll turn it to the wrong side. So I'll be weaving all these parts so that we'll have a clean finishing. I'm going to weave all these parts. I'll weave the sides. I'm going to weave the hemline. So I've done that. So I've weaved this part, as you can see. I've weaved the sides. So this is the slit part. I've also weaved it. So what I'm going to do on this side slit, I'm going to fold it in by 1 inch here. So I'll be using a hemming gum. I'll attach a hemming gum and iron it on it. But if you don't have a hemming gum, you can just stitch on it. You can just stitch it all the way down by 1 inch. So I'll do that later. So now the next thing I'm going to do is to attach the collar on the neckline. I'm going to measure what I have on the neckline. So from this point, I'm going to measure the round neck. So I have around 19 inches. So I'll use it to cut out the collar. So I won't be explaining how to cut this collar because I've already done that on 2 of my videos. I'll be dropping the link on the description box. So I've gone ahead to cut out my collar. I've attached interfacing to it. So what I'm going to do, I'll just go ahead and sew it all the way. I'll sew the top part and stop at this point. Then I'll show you. So guys, this is our collar. I've gone ahead to stitch it and I've also ironed it. So like I said, I gave a vivid explanation on my previous videos on how to attach a collar. It's a cycle collar. So what I'll do, I'll fix it from I notch the center neckline and I also notch the collar. So I'm sewing it on the wrong side. So I'll start sewing it from the wrong side of the dress. So after I sew it, I'm going to turn it to the other side. I'll just pin it up. After I pin it up, I'll sew it. Then after sewing it, I'm going to fold it in like this. So I've folded this part by 1/2 inch. Then I've pinned it up. I pinned it up to secure the collar. Then I'm going to top stitch this part by 1/4 inch. So I'll top stitch it all the way to have our collar. So guys, I've done that. I've attached a collar to the dress. So it's like I said, it's a cycle collar. So the next thing I'm going to do is to hem the sleeve. I'm going to fold it by 1/2 inch and I'll refold it again by 1 inch and I'll sew it round. So when I'm done sewing it, I'm going to attach like a placket on the sleeve. So I'll go ahead and cut it out. So it's on a fold. I'm going to make the width of the placket 1.5 inches. So I'll cut it out. Then on the center of the placket, I'm going to take like a triangle shape. So I'm going to mark the center like this. Then I'll come down by 1.5 inch. That's 1.5 inches. Then I'll just make like a triangle shape from the center from the center point. I'll create like a triangle shape. So what I'll do next is to sew these points here like this. Then I'll sew the other side, the 2 sides by 1/4 inch all the way to the end. So I'll do that and show you. So guys, I've done that. I've hemmed the sleeve by 1 inch, by 1.5 inches. So now this is the length of the placket. I have around 8 inches. So I turned it to the good side and I have this. So this is that triangle shape at the edge. So I'm going to tuck this part in like this. I'll tuck it in, then I'm going to top stitch it here. So I'll repeat the same thing on the other placket. So I'll be attaching it here. I'll turn it to the wrong side, the sleeve. I'll turn the sleeve to the wrong side and I'll mark 8 inches like so on the center of the sleeve. So I'll attach the placket and I'm going to top stitch this part here. So I'll do that and show you. So I've done that. So I noticed it was too long. I decided to come down a little. So I used 6 inches for the placket. So from the beginning of the sleeve, I took 6 inches instead of the 8 inches I took earlier. So I'm going to fold it this way. So I'm supposed to make like a buttonhole here so that we'll attach our button here. When we attach our button here, the buttonhole is going to be here. Then we are going to fix it. But because I don't have access to a buttonhole, I'll just go ahead and fix a button directly on this part to give us that turn-up effect on our sleeve. So I'll do that and I'll show you. So guys, I've done that. So I decided to attach a button on top of it. So like I said, if you have access, you can just create a buttonhole so that you can open it up. But because I don't have access to a buttonhole, I just decided to attach the button directly on the placket. So we'll have this. So this is our sleeve. So I've gone ahead to fold the side slits. So remember, this side is open. So what I did, I folded it by 1 inch and I attached a hemming gum to it and I gave it a good press. And we have this. So this is what a hemming gum looks like. So I attached it on the dress and I folded it in and I gave it a good press. So I've also hemmed the full length. I folded it by 1 inch and I stitched it. Then I've fixed the collar, we fixed the placket on the sleeve. This is our drawstring and our false pocket. So we've come to the end of these tutorials. I hope it was helpful. Please don't forget to subscribe, give it a thumbs up and share. Thanks for watching and see you in my next video.